There is something deeply fascinating about the way the modern entertainment world reacts to criticism. Because whenever someone like the critical drinker points out obvious problems in Hollywood or gaming, the response is almost never really reflection. Instead, it's always panic, smears, and lots of hit pieces. And with all of these increasingly desperate attempts to explain away why audiences are just abandoning the very franchises that these companies have spent decades building, it is proving one thing at least, that what these sorts of things I'm going to be discussing here are doing, it actually does prove one thing, which that it exposes the problem not with the critical drinker and people like him, but the industry itself actually. So this now all started with the Mary Sue, which is a website written by feminists who hate men. And they want everything from entertainment to politics and more to focus solely on what they care about and cater to them only. I mean, they won't admit that, but that is what the Mary Sue is anyways. Instead of extending an olive branch to someone like the critical drinker and trying to make amends or understand him, instead the Mary Sue now decides to go nuclear on him and just pretty much smear him and anyone associated by comparison. And it's all with this article titled, "Failed Filmmaker Turned YouTube Grifter is Mad People Are Distancing Themselves from Him and His Grift." Very interesting way of putting it, since he, didn't really fail at anything actually, but the opposite, but okay. You can already see where this is going, but naturally, since Drinker is two things that Mary Sue hates, which is both a man and being white, of course, naturally this means that someone like him and anyone who associates with Drinker, I guess me included, since I have been on his podcast a few times, means that we're all just, I guess, evil shills who must be silenced forever now. It's also very interesting to me how for an entertainment space, not just the Mary Sue, but like all of it, right? IGN, pick whichever. They all have a very specific group of people they hate, which is basically someone like me, Drinker, anyone like that. Let's be real. And the reason for why we're all hated is kind of simple. It's because we don't really fall in line with what these people really want or define themselves by too. If only I just swallowed whatever these people pushed, maybe I would be invited to things. But that's not what's important about what I do or anyone like me. The point is not to fall in line. The point is to rattle those cages and actually try to fix things, not enforce them. Because the way that entertainment and games in general have been going these past 10 years has only proven one thing. It's not working. Look at the Marvel Universe post-Endgame, right? Everything not named Spider-Man or that one Doctor Strange movie basically did horrible at release. Marvel genuinely did try to replace their cash cow with a more female-focused future on purpose, and despite things like that, these people still doubled down anyways. But this Mary Sue article specifically pokes at the drinker's public fallout with Dungeon Crawler Carl's author Matt Dinniman. So this is the book in question here. It's about a world where humanity and other survivors are forced to fight for their lives on a game show that is hosted by aliens. As you can also see here, Seth MacFarlane, the guy who made Family Guy, has bought the rights to this book to adapt it into a TV series recently. So this now means that this Matt Dinniman has now officially entered Hollywood proper with his book. And because of this new series that's being made, Matt has now denounced his connection to the critical drinker publicly to distance himself. So all of this led to the drinker telling Matt good luck sucking Hollywood's you-know-what publicly and using Drinker's name to get Kickstarter funds and such to make his book a reality when he was struggling. So basically, Matt used Drinker is what really happened here, yet Matt doesn't believe that that's really the case. Drinker himself had a segment in the third book in this series of the same name, and this is what Matt said on Reddit when it came to the whole situation, which reads, "The question on the critical drinker's role in book 3 has come up several times already. I've been asked about it point blank a few times at cons as well. I try to avoid talking politics, etc. outside the book itself, because I think it's dumb for artists to turn attention away from their art and to shine the spotlight upon themselves. Though I think if people actually read these books along with any of my other works, nothing about anything I'm about to say will come as a surprise," Matt continues. "I regret that my books have any association whatsoever with him," the drinker he means. "I hope one day to have his part in book 3 removed altogether. It's a distraction, and the only edgelord D-bag I want people to think of when they read my books is the AI itself." To expand slightly, he continues, "Sometime in early 2020, while we were prepping book 3 for audio, Jeff asked me if I'd like to get a guest voice for the drunk dwarf guy. He knew a popular YouTube reviewer that was a Scottish guy whose persona was a drunk Scottish guy, and I said sure. I had no idea who he was, but I figured some guy with, at the time, 500,000 subscribers or so could only help the series along. Back then, he was mostly known for his funny but sarcastic reviews of movies. He wasn't known as the person he is today. Clearly, if this was asked of me today, I would decline. You see, right there at the end, right, Matt Dinniman admits that the only reason that he allowed Drinker onto his book was because of simply for the exposure, dude. As he said there, right, that Drinker could only help the series along, meaning that he was perfectly fine with having Drinker on the book when it aided him when he needed it. Because let's be real, without the help of someone like Drinker's name attached to a book like this, the likelihood of its success or being more well known would be much less than it is right now. Effectively meaning that this Matt guy pretty much pretended to be friends with Drinker when it aided him, and once he got his Hollywood deal, as we now know and saw, suddenly, oh yeah, I don't like Drinker actually, I'm working to remove his part entirely. Oh, funny how that works now, is it? It's no surprise that people in entertainment are fake as it gets. I mean, like, we all know that. This is why it's important to never listen to any actor pretty much when it comes to, well, anything. Whenever I see some out-of-touch actor try to tell people how to live their lives, it always comes off as stupid. Like, you're an actor. You pretend for a living. How do I know you're not just doing more of the same right now with your so-called beliefs too? You people are chameleons by trade. This unfortunately also pushes into creatives too. They only care about you for as long as they can use you pretty much. As Drinker said here publicly, he said that Matt Dinniman was very excited to work with Drinker and knew exactly who he was when he was put on the book's audio cast, even though Matt Dinniman said he didn't know who he was. And as Nerdrotic says below there, it's a tale as old as Hollywood, which is unfortunately true. It's very hard to find anybody real in that space, but this is what I mean. These people use someone like a Drinker because of his influence, and then magically pretend like they didn't know him suddenly when it no longer benefits them. That is insulting and ridiculous. And it also means that anyone who's a fan of Drinker is now likely also not going to support that show anyways when it does come out. Which ironically, Matt Dinniman probably would have wanted that support, since the people who watch channels like a Drinker or a Nerdrotic and more, that does range in the millions of views. Shows can live and die by their recommendations. I mean, just go look at what happened to Starfleet Academy. That show was so bad it got cooked by people like these guys. Now they're like apparently destroying the sets of Starfleet already as we speak, which I mean, hey, maybe if you didn't make a show for the modern audience, you wouldn't be doing that, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Either way, right, this is pathetic of Matt Dinniman to do, because now he has the stink of a betrayer hanging over him, but he likely thinks, like any Hollywood person, that there's more than enough eyes that will check out these shows and make them successful, but we know that's not the case all the time. However, if this Dungeon Crawler Carl show ends up failing, it would be pretty funny after everything that's happened, I gotta be honest. But this is what I mean, right? The fact that the Mary Sue even reported on this shows how they clearly have an axe to grind. And it's against anyone who stands up against what these people consider to be insane by association. The way the Mary Sue frames the situation here is yet another example of how no matter what you do or say, it's never good enough for people like this. They can't understand why someone they have already decided is unacceptable continues to thrive within an ecosystem they also exist within. They told you the Drinker is bad for you. They gaslighted you into believing that by living in association with them, it means that you're going to somehow do worse in life, which is just not true at all. I mean, look at me. I'm kind of proof of that, right? But what this all does is reveal something far more interesting to me too, because it actually shows that places like the Mary Sue have a complete misunderstanding of how audiences actually believe and behave in 2026. For Hollywood and more, people like the Drinker, or people like him, I guess, we all represent a very specific threat to these sorts of people, because we're not a part of their professional network. Someone like Drinker or Nerdrotic even doesn't rely on studio access to remain relevant. That especially makes them angry, by the way. It's like how I don't rely either on access to games media to make my videos. I don't need free code to talk on games. I can just buy them myself. Sure, sometimes I do get sent free games, not all the time, and I tell you guys when that does happen. But do I need free games to speak on them? No, of course not. I mean, I bought Veilguard, Forspoken, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Lords of the Fallen, and more so that I could review them for the channel and talk about them. I don't need that access to believe that I'm legit or something, but these sorts of people really do, because they think it makes them be seen as this holy group that exists outside of the common people, which is, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Oh wow, you get to play a game earlier than me, or see the latest Hollywood slop before anyone else. Oh, that definitely means you're better than anybody. Morons. And that's what annoys the Mary Sue in places like them about Drinker and others, right? That they don't rely on what they need to do their jobs. This is also why they hate someone like Drinker especially, right? Because since his success and I guess brand, if you will, is not tied to the corporate bootlicking that these sorts of types have to abide by, it means that he can also say stuff outside of that traditional media system that rarely allows anyone to actually speak their minds these days. This is why they hate people like this and so on. They'll call them failed filmmakers. They'll call them grifters, like whatever they can throw to delegitimize them, right? But the reality is, if he was grifting, right, well, he would be working at the Mary Sue instead, protecting the corporate interests of Hollywood and not the other way around. And this is why you keep seeing this. It's a battle of ideology ultimately between those who live outside of that bubble versus those who are filtered through the corporate slop marketing department culture that grips them like a kid holding a crayon. This is why modern entertainment has lost its way. Not only have franchises that once dominated the global cultural zeitgeist just continue to have troubles generating the excitement in box office numbers like they used to, but it's also filled to the brim like diarrhea in a public toilet with creatives who exist only to like reboot and redesign and reinterpret legacy IPs that people love into terrible products that also oftentimes see the original fan base as the enemy these days. And when these audiences criticize these changes, which aligns usually with someone like a Drinker, Nerdrotic, or whoever else, the response is never really reflection, is it? I mean, of course not. Instead, it's just accusations. The Mary Sue article here unintentionally highlights the deeper problem without realizing it themselves, because for decades, entertainment media served as the cultural gatekeeper. Studios made the content, and these people told you what to think, and that system worked mostly in their favor, but the entire structure now is pretty moot because independent voices have entered the picture, because now millions of people can hear the perspectives of other people that also live outside of that traditional media pipeline, like you are right now, by the way, by watching this. So when you have people like a Critical Drinker who analyzes the story or the pacing and the writing and the franchise management and whatever else, and it's from the perspective of someone who is an audience member, right, over that of like the studio, that ends up being catastrophic to that old gatekeeping model. Because suddenly, for the first time in years, the audience has options they didn't have before. This is why they hate anyone who speaks out against the monolith, because for years, in my position anyways, I have spoken about how the same problems keep plaguing video games as Drinker does with Hollywood too. We do need better written characters. We need source materials to be respected. These products need to stop treating the audience like they're the enemy all of the time. And they need to focus on real storytelling over messaging all the time instead. But none of these ideas presented here are radical, are they? They are just the basic common sense takes that anyone in like the 90s or early 2000s, for example, would look at you and go, yeah, that seems reasonable. But now it's basically akin to putting on the German uniform in like World War II and acting like you're trying to put people in camps if you say that now. But that's the thing, right? Like what these takes are, they respect people. They focus on storytelling. They don't want you to talk down because like the audience, they are the fundamental building blocks that have led to the very power that filmmaking and AAA gaming have benefited from for years now. But these days, in today's political climate, God, I hate those words, this is now somehow becoming controversial. What? You respect the audience? The audience? What has the audience ever done for us at the Mary Sue or IGN and GameSpot? Oh, right, their views pay our bills and let us keep our jobs. Well, how dare you believe that we need those mouth breathers to keep spewing our propaganda? Like, that is how they think, dude. That is legit. And instead of engaging with these arguments like sound, rational human beings with a functioning brain in their heads, places like the Mary Sue would rather attack the people who keep their lights on instead. Like, what a stupid idea. And this is why this whole smearing tactic, it just keeps backfiring and money shotting all over their faces constantly. It's also ironic too, because every time a media outlet publishes another article attacking or trying to discredit a Drinker, Nerdrotic, like whoever, right? All they end up doing is just amplifying these people even more. They just introduce these channels to more viewers, which is good, by the way. And I guarantee you, when those users do hear of Drinker, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Yellow Flash, hell, even me, what they end up finding is something oftentimes unexpected from what they thought it was going to be, right? That the criticisms being made actually start making sense. Well, no SHIT there, Sherlock. It's because I'm arguing from common sense here. Why would I want bad games to exist in franchises I like? You think I'm happy that Dragon Age is basically dead in a ditch, naked, cheeks up, and forgotten? Of course not. All I want is good games. That's the whole point. The same goes for entertainment too. I can't even watch most Hollywood movies or shows these days because the propaganda is so blatant it takes you out immediately. I don't even need to look like that far to prove my point. This is also from the Mary Sue, and it's titled, Geeks and Gamers Prove Millie Alcock's Point by Getting Angry That a Woman Called Out Sexist. Didn't I just say Geeks and Gamers in this video and they proved my point again? So this pertains to Drinker and all that too, I promise you, but basically Millie Alcock is playing Supergirl, obviously, in the Supergirl movie. Gotta be real with you guys, the movie doesn't look very good. It looks like Guardians of the Supergirl to me, but somehow even worse. But this is what the new Supergirl said in an interview. It definitely made me aware that simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We have become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. I can't really stop them. I can only be myself. Like literally nobody was saying this before, dude, like at all. This girl just magically turned herself into a victim for seemingly no other reason than to shield the Supergirl movie from criticism by just claiming that any negative things that are written about the film now is because, oh right, you're sexist. Okay, well of course the Mary Sue loves this because that's kind of their whole grift, right? They love women. They hate everybody else. Just don't ask them to define what a woman actually is, because their heads might explode from the combination of logic and the SSRIs that are swirling in those toilet bowls they call their heads. But that's what I'm talking about. Now when Supergirl comes out and it ends up being bad, and if Drinker or whoever reviews it, these types can now go, oh, they only said that because it's a woman in the lead role. Oh, I'm sorry. Who we were supposed to expect in the lead role of a movie called Supergirl? Exactly. Yeah, of course we expected a woman in the role. It's in the name, you morons. Either way, though, this sort of preemptive, like backpedaling virtue signaling only exists for a really simple reason. It's to defend your product from criticism because you know it's not very good. Look, I don't plan on really seeing Supergirl in theaters anyways. After seeing James Gunn's Superman, I'm convinced this guy's DCU is already like hurtling towards an inevitable reboot in the future anyways. I mean, that Peacemaker season 2, man, I dumped that show so quick. It was dog water, and then everybody turned on James Gunn by the end of that season already too. It was awful. And instead of giving us Batman, you know, a character we care about, James Gunn's bright idea is like, what about Supergirl played by a feminist? But it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy again. Thanks, James. Can't wait for that one. But this is what people do, right? They call you the grifter to mask themselves from being actual grifters. I'm not giving my money to Supergirl. And the only time the Mary Sue becomes relevant is ironically when they try to attack the very people they want less of in the space. Which kind of tells you something now, doesn't it? That you are only relevant by the existence of the people that you hate. Isn't that kind of sad? Again, what even is a woman to the Mary Sue? Please, like, tell us. I can't wait for the response that makes no sense because y'all don't want to be canceled for wrongthink. But this is what I mean, right? Hollywood and AAA gaming are currently trapped in what I can only call a feedback loop. These executives listen to the consultants, and the consultants are in cahoots with the activist journalists. Then these journalists reinforce the same narratives that they and the consultants believe back into the industry, only to create future projects and products that enforce their belief systems again. This would work if the internet didn't exist, because the audience, which were usually completely absent from the conversation before, are now anything but that. The audience is what determines everything now. You don't live without an audience, which is precisely why independent critics and voices like Drinker and more have become so influential, because they're one of the few voices in a massive network of yes men that actually reflects what audiences are really saying and thinking. And boy, do they hate that, because these people can't be bought like they have been already, and that infuriates them. Because they know, I mean the Mary Sue and the like, that they wouldn't exist if they didn't do the whole blood ritual to join the Hollywood ecosystem like everybody else. And this is why you're seeing such a massive shift in cultural authority these days too, because the old system where entertainment media dictated taste and controlled access is rapidly collapsing at an alarming rate. In its place now stands a decentralized ecosystem of creators and critics and the communities within them, which all have their own voices and are free to say whatever they want, and this is why they hate a Drinker or anybody like him. Because people like him have succeeded not because they have corporate backing, but because audiences actually trust what they have to say. And oh, that makes them so angry, guys. It really does. But we have the domain. We got paid off by the companies to push this. So why is a Scottish guy in a pair of sunglasses dog walking our numbers? This isn't supposed to happen. We paid to be here. Look, I even made my cat non-binary. I thought this is what they wanted, but all it really took was actual authenticity to become relevant and beloved. But that's the thing. These people can't become something like that, because at their core, the entire design philosophy of what and who they are is built upon something that is horrifically inauthentic at its core. And whether Hollywood, the Mary Sue, or whoever likes it or not, that is why someone like the Critical Drinker is one of the most visible examples of that shift that we see today. And that is why, ironically, the Mary Sue article at the core of this tried to frame this whole story like some sort of mystery that needed solving. Why they hate the Critical Drinker and people like him. Because they have influence when they do not, because they are not authentic or truthful with their audiences. Why do people watch him? Why won't he just disappear? We wrote the hit pieces. Why aren't people listening to us? We distinctly asked you to listen to us by the existence of the article that we made. Shouldn't that be enough? But no, it is not the Mary Sue. What a stupid name. time, by the way. The answer is actually painfully simple, isn't it? Because the entertainment industry refuses to listen to the very advice that could save them is what is directly leading to their own downfall. And the only reason why they don't listen is because they've been conditioned to believe only those with verified platforms, like a shill website, should be able to speak their minds and nobody else. Maybe if the Mary Sue told Hollywood to write better stories and respect the audience and stop treating criticism as heresy, things could maybe actually change here faster. But that would then require the Mary Sue then to take their own advice, and if you know anything about angry feminist women, it's that accountability that is like kryptonite to these sorts of ladies. So until that happens, until these websites finally turn around and look in the mirrors and toss away the SSRI meds and start to really question how this all went wrong, like in their place, I mean, these independent voices will just continue to grow the way that they are. And the establishment will just continue wondering why the world they once controlled is slipping through their fingers. You can own as many websites as you want. You can pay for all the journalists who believe the things that you want to push. None of that will compare to one single genuine voice standing up and just saying, you know what? No, we're not doing this anymore and this needs to end. And they hate that more than anything else, don't they? Oh well, that's what's going to keep happening then no matter what they do. If you want genuine interaction, you kind of need to be genuine yourself. But I guess that's impossible when your entire operation is manufactured from the get-go and everything about what you guys do is inauthentic at its core. But that's what you get in the end. Oh well, you did it to yourselves, but what do you think? Let me know. Unlike the Mary Sue, I'm not going to censor you guys at all. Lay it on me. Subscribe if you'd like to, and have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.